Tonight joining us, we got Chris Platty. What's going on, bro?
Man, what's going on, guys? Good to be back on here. You can find my podcast. It's called Strictly Hip Hop. It's Strictly Hoop Talk. It's two podcasts in one feed. The titles pretty much explain it all.
Yeah, man, good to have you.
Thank you. Excited to talk. Excited to talk some hoops with you guys because it's been a minute.
Yeah, tell me about it. And a lot has happened in the NBA. As of last week. That other voice you guys hear, that's the 430. What's
That's
up,
right.
Pete?
That's right.
So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and get this show started. But before we do that, it's Dead End Sports everything, man. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, the whole nine, and just keep up with the latest news, some of the craziest takes and sports highlights out there, man. So that's that. And man, LeBron is beasting, yo. So we're gonna get into the Cavs, man, in just a little bit. But before we do that, I want to give you guys a quick rundown of just some of the other news items that caught my eye this week. Lane Johnson is out there talking crap about the Patriots, saying that they are a fear-based organization, which is causing a lot of people to be a little upset at Lane. But, it is what it is. Some people saying that they agree. Other people saying that he should just chill out and just enjoy being a champion. Things are starting to ramp up about baseball season. And the biggest thing that caught my eye was Yu Darvish signing to the Cubs. And yeah, played in the World Series. He was terrible in the World Series. And now he signed a 6-year contract with the Chicago Cubs for $126 million. So that's going to be interesting.
All guaranteed money.
Yeah,
Oof.
man. That's nuts. That's nuts, man. But
Kind of makes me wish I would. It makes me wish I should have stuck with baseball.
Yeah, man. I tell people all the time, man, growing up, like if I was anywhere close to an athlete that could choose between sports, like no doubt I'm going baseball or NBA every time. They're the safest and you get the most money. Like, why would you not go that route?
Yeah, I
Right.
played both baseball and basketball in my high school varsity days, and of course, me being a young, hothead, and all the girls. Everyone was going to basketball games, so I chose basketball. But yeah, I was a good shortstop. Man, my dad always was like, yeah, you should have stuck with being a shortstop. I'm not saying that he thought I was a bad basketball player or anything like that. I mean, I started my varsity years, play AAU and everything. I just wanted to be with baseball because that's where everybody was at. I mean, basketball because everybody was like there. But if I don't play baseball, I'd have definitely probably got a scholarship somewhere because I was a good shortstop.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. I didn't know that. I didn't know
Yeah.
Beezy the athlete. I only know Beezy the hip hop head.
Yeah. I was baseball and basketball was my sports growing up, man. I always liked watching football, but I've never cared to play it. But yeah, baseball, and that's only because my dad played those sports. I used to see him play those sports when I was like a little kid, so I saw him play basketball and baseball, and I wanted to do that.
Hey, man, we're going to lead the show off with the Cavs, man. They made a lot of moves last week at the trade deadline, and we knew that was going to happen, man. There was just a lot of drama in Cleveland, and, typically around this time is par for the course when it comes to them. LeBron James, as I once said on this show, is a drama king. He thrives in it. He loves it. But this year was a little bit different considering the circumstances of them trading Kyrie after he demanded to be traded, and LeBron not wanting him to be traded. Them trading him anyway and bringing in Isaiah Thomas, draft pick, and Jay Crowder. If you guys have been following us for a while, you already know what we think about those trades, those moves, the turmoil the Cavs have been in so far this year. So out with the old, in with the new. So the Cavs brought in Jordan Clarkson, Larry Nance Jr., who used to play for Cleveland. His dad used to play for Cleveland. Rodney Hood and I'm missing somebody. Who am I missing?
George Hill.
George Hill. So yeah, and out went Jay Crowder, Isaiah Thomas. My boy Dwayne Wade is out of there. Who else? That's
Derrick Rose.
Derrick Rose, yeah, he got bounced.
Who just got released by Utah.
Yeah,
Utah brought him out, so he's a free agent now on the waivers.
Mm-hmm.
I think Minnesota will probably pick him up.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that play out. With him going back to Minnesota, and that would actually be a good fit. Not to get off topic here, but that would be a good fit with them only having Tyus Jones, I think, as the backup point guard.
And he's back with Coach Tibbs too.
Right.
But were he and Jimmy cool though? Because I don't know about that dynamic. I thought that was kind of a weird thing that was going on in Chicago. So I don't know if they're. I don't know.
That's a good question. I don't even remember. I mean, I don't remember hearing them not getting along when they was in Chicago. But that's a good. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Well, I think they'll be cool now. He just got married, man. He got to take care of the missus. So I don't know how much money he still got in the bank. Wasn't he complaining about having to take care of the kids and raise his family and stuff like that? So yeah, I think when you see your NBA career about to evaporate right before your eyes and nobody want you and you're not the guy that you used to be, you'll get it right. But anyway, so yeah, that's interesting. So that'll be something to watch, and I'm sure we may talk about it here on the show. But, yeah, so anyway, new Cavs, man. New Cavs, who this? So they went up to Boston, smashed Boston, who hasn't been playing well as of late. And now tonight they're playing the Thunder. So they get two tough matchups back-to-back. They beat Boston by 20-plus, and now the Thunder went on a run. They had an 11-point lead. Thunder went on a run, and now they're going into halftime up 62-57 tonight. So what do you guys think, man? Do you guys think, are the Cavs back? Or are they back being contenders? What do you guys think of this new regime, these new pieces that LeBron has to play with?
I think it's good that they, I guess, went young. They definitely got some young athletic guys that's gonna go. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's a good thing. And also, I guess whatever cancer was going on in that locker room, and I hate to just go off of one game, but based off that game against Boston on the road, it seemed like those guys was happy. I've never seen them have that much fun playing all season so far, except for that game when they played Boston with all the new guys. They was smiling, laughing. When Crowder and Isaiah Thomas and all them was there, you didn't see none of that. So it made me curious, who was really the cancer in that locker room. And now that, you got these young guys that's excited to play with LeBron James, you have a stable point guard in George Hill. And he's not like a superstar top tier, but he's just that point guard that does just enough to get it done. Efficient. And then you got the athletic, huh?
Yeah, no, he's efficient, man. Yeah.
He's efficient. Yeah, he's efficient. Not flashy, almost kind of like a broke man's Chauncey Billups, just real efficient, just gets the job done, nothing too extravagant. And with Larry Nance, got you an athletic big guy, and yeah, man, I think it's just amazing seeing how it changed. And I think who said that? I think Jalen Rose or someone said they saw Kevin Garnett was there for the Paul Pierce thing, and he had gave LeBron a hug and was like, "Yo, man, it's something different about y'all. Y'all different. I can just tell." So for other NBA legends to notice that and see that, they playing with so much energy and so much happiness now, it's wow. But does this mean they're gonna make a run and possibly win a championship? No, they're not. I mean, this team still won't beat Golden State Warriors in a 7-game series. But if you ask me if they have a chance to make it out the East, I would say that's a possibility now, because before, I remember even last week and the week before last, I was saying the way that Cavs have been playing, I didn't even see them getting out the second round. The way how everyone was not playing defense, nobody was committed to doing anything. They wasn't trusting each other. I'm like, man, they're going to get popped in the second round. But now I can honestly say they have a shot of coming out the East again. but will they have a shot against Golden State? No. But, I thought it was a cool move. I thought the GMs, they had to do something. They had to do something because you could not let this season continue with that same exact roster and everybody talking and whatever else is going on. Another rumor has it, they said Joe Crowder and LeBron James got into a scuffle in the locker room. Like, it's just so much cancerous
I didn't
stuff.
hear that one.
It was a rumor.
Yeah.
Rumor. I don't know how much truth was that too, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. So yeah, now they got that. They got all that cancer out. That's good. The Dwayne Wade move, I think that was just all of LeBron James saying, "Hey, look, man, this ain't working out. Like once you just, I'm gonna talk to GMs, whatever, send you back to Miami so you can so you can retire either this year or next year be your last year." I think LeBron and Dwayne Wade had like an understanding. Dwayne Wade knew it just wasn't working out in the Cavs. That roster that they had wasn't working out. Look, let me just go back to Miami to where I belong and finish out there and be on my Kobe-ish next season possibly.
Yeah, man. I loved it. I loved it for Cleveland. And I think the roster is like you said, BZ, like just much better. It will help them compete better in the regular season and the playoffs. I love that they got younger. That's what they needed to do. I know LeBron likes veteran teams because he likes to have those teams where the veterans just know where to be on defense and he doesn't have to, worry about it. But I mean, we've seen it with Miami and we've seen it with Cleveland. Like when you get these veteran teams around LeBron, like eventually they all break down and then it's just LeBron again. So I love that they got younger. I love that they got athletic shooters, a pick and roll threat, and Larry Nance, who can just, the lobs are going to be crazy there. But the one thing I said on my Instagram Live, when I did an Instagram Live at the trade deadline, I talked about the thing that Cleveland still needs is like, yes, this made them a lot better, but at the same time, this still makes them nowhere near Golden State because LeBron needs that dynamic guard. He needs that Wade in Miami. He needs that Kyrie in Cleveland. Like he needs that top tier dynamic guard who can get you a bucket, who can take over the offense. And right now they don't have it. And that's not saying that Kevin Love's not a star because Kevin Love is, and he's good when healthy. But the problem is that LeBron just needs a guard who can create and run the offense. And obviously that's something that Kevin Love can't do the way a Kyrie or a Dwayne Wade can do. So if you had this team with Kyrie still, I would be like, okay, now I can actually see them competing against Golden State. But without Kyrie, this is a team that might, like you said, get out of the East. But I don't see them competing with Golden State.
There's no might. They are coming out of the East. Trust me. I don't know, man. Like, I first of all, it was definitely interesting to see all the moves. We knew IT was going to get up out of there, man. They were going to get him up out the paint. And I've been saying, even before, most of the media caught up to it, that Jay Crowder just didn't want to be there. That's why you guys need to listen to us, man. Because a lot of people were saying that. I was like, Jay Crowder just doesn't look happy, and then as it went on, and now he's throwing shade at the Cavs, talking about he loves playing in the system. And they're also saying that he was the one talking about LeBron was assist chasing. But yeah, I think it was IT. And IT been talking since he left. And what's his name? Chris Broussard said,
I was talking to somebody yesterday close to Isaiah, and they said he has absolutely no love at all for LeBron. Like, this is real. Like, he felt like LeBron kind of talked down to him when he was there and so on and so forth. And when Isaiah first got there, they actually were hanging out a little bit and it was cool, but it soured pretty quickly. So this is real.
I could see that because I don't know if LeBron has the respect that he had for Kyrie. Because say what you want, man, and we'll find out the truth. We'll know what really happened somewhere down the line. But LeBron, I think, really did like Kyrie, man. He saw something special in him. And to lose his partner for 3 years, I don't know, man. I think that did something to him. So you bring in IT, and IT started talking crap, and next thing you know, things just fall apart. Kevin Garnett is right. They are different. Even watching them tonight, they're running up and down the court. They're making buckets, and I think that second unit is really going to be the key. when you think about what the Cavs did on their run, 18 out of 19, I mean, they went 10 deep, and they had I think even now still their bench is one of the highest scoring benches in the NBA. But that's what they did really, really well. And I think with these additions, they're going to be able to continue that success. Do they have the Kyrie that a second guy like a Kyrie? Nah, I don't know who could be that guy. I think Jordan Clarkson maybe, because he's a flat out scoring machine. But time will tell what happens when the playoffs happen. So there's still some questions that we have to answer. But for right now, they're focused. And we're talking about B. You're right. We're talking about guys in Larry Nance and Jordan Clarkson, Rodney Hood, who just got to the playoffs for the first time last year, George Hill, who was stuck in a losing situation. Like, I'll be happy as hell too.
Right.
What were you guys' overall thoughts on Jordan Clarkson before he came to Cleveland?
Oh, I thought he was always an instant offense type of guy. You know, he was always explosive guard. You know, that can play both guard positions, that can play and defend both point guard and shooting guard. Yeah, I think Clarkson was a baller at LA. So, you know, I thought the GMs in the Cavs, they did a good job of kind of getting some good young talent, youthful guys on this Cavs team, man. So yeah, I always thought Clarkson was a scorer, man. Like before Kuzma and you know Lonzo was there, I was like, man, that dude is a scorer, man. That dude got game.
Yeah, I agree. Clarkson, I've always been high on Clarkson as a starter / sixth man. Like I think if he's on a team where he's your fourth or fifth best starter or like your first man off the bench, then that's a good team. The problem was he was kind of like, for a minute, he was like the man in LA, and he didn't really have anybody outside of like D'Angelo Russell tried to be for a year, and like, you know, they didn't have a star like a LeBron. So I think we're about to see a whole new Jordan Clarkson, because LeBron, especially of all superstars, but superstars in general, really raised the level of the role players, because they take a lot of that pressure off. So now Clarkson can be just a guy who go and gets a bucket. It doesn't have to worry about doing, you know, everything, worry about, you know, getting other people involved and whatever. He could just be used as a high volume scorer when LeBron needs some rest or when LeBron wants to delegate. So yeah, I think it's a great move. And like I said earlier with the Larry Nance acquisition, I think that one's personally the bigger one, because he's a guy who you absolutely have to watch the lob when he rolls the basket off the pick and roll. And that kind of guy, sometimes you need to send an extra person. And if you fill this team with shooters like the Cavs did, that's a huge thing. Like, that's why I really wanted the Cavs to get DeAndre. As great as he is defensively, that lob threat is really gonna have a lot of defenders have to suck in, and then that leaves the 3-point shooters open. And we all know how LeBron can find those shooters, like the best of them. So I really like those. I really like those two acquisitions, and as well as Hood, a nice shooting guard who's got size, inconsistent, but I think we're about to see what he's made of in Cleveland. I think we're about to see.
With the Cavs, me and my youngest brother, we always talk about how LeBron has never played with the young wings ever in his career, right? Like the youngest guys was Darius Miles and Ricky Davis, if you guys remember that Cavs roster, right, when Brown was a rookie. But those were the most athletic guys that he's ever played with. And when you have a guy that's such a playmaker, pseudo point guard, point forward, you know, arguably the best passing small forward to ever play, you need guys on the wing that can sometimes get ahead of Bron. Because Bron, at this stage in his career, is more of a passer than he is a finisher. Not saying he doesn't finish, just saying that his playmaking supersedes his finishing ability nowadays, right? And for him at this stage of his career to get young guys like this that are, first of all, hungry, right? Because they don't know no better. Hey, look, I ain't never tasted the playoffs. We about to hit the playoffs. All I know is what my job is, right? Jordan Clarkson, Rodney Hood, Larry Nance. And then they got a veteran guy in George Hill that can calm the storm be another voice of reason in that locker room, somebody that's been through some of the battles. But I love what they did, man. Jordan Clarkson, I think, is going to be the key to making all of this work because he's the guy that's just a guard. And for as long as Ken and B have known me and we've been watching LeBron, I've always said that LeBron needs to play with a scoring type of point guard because LeBron is the pseudo point guard. He's the one that wants to make the plays, make the passes, the cross court passes on point, so you got to be locked and loaded and ready to go when you play with Bron. And Bron can't play with a pass first point guard. He has to get a guy that can score. George Hill isn't necessarily, like, people don't think of him as a scorer, but he's not necessarily a pure point guard. He's just kind of a combo guard too that can play bigger or smaller guards. So both of those guys, that tandem, I think is going to be key. I love what they did. And I think that, and I've said this on several occasions, too many GMs are scared to pull the trigger. You got to pull the trigger if you're trying to be great. Like we can't just be resting on our laurels. You got to make moves, and you can't be scared to make them. They traded 6 guys and got 4 guys in return, and everybody that they got back is better than every guy that they sent out. That's how you win a trade. And at the end of the day, what you did as well is solidify yourself for the future. Okay, Bron, you don't want to come back. We still got K-Love, and we got a lottery pick this year. So that's cool. That's cool. We'll be all right. But you know what? LeBron, at this point, he'd be a fool to leave this squad because I don't think he can go anywhere else and get more talent. Now, if he does leave, the only reason why you leave is for a better head coach. And the only person that you're going to go to is Popovich. So if you don't go to San Antonio, there's no reason to leave the Cleveland Cavs. Maybe if you wanted to go to Philly, I get it. But maybe that's the only other place.
Houston? Houston? With Chris Paul and Harden?
I don't think it works. From a basketball
I see that. Yeah, I see that. I see the fit being not as good as everybody likes, but I don't know, man. LeBron with Harden. I like him with Harden. I just don't know about Paul because Paul's a more ball-dominant guy. I think Paul's okay with sharing the ball with one person, but 2 people, I don't know. That might be pushing it for a guy like Chris Paul.
Yeah, but you can manage that through rotation, because right. Chris Paul's already the first guy to come out of the rotation, right? And then they just let James Harden go at it, and then when they take James Harden out, Chris Paul, and then it's the Chris Paul show, right? So you can do that, but my thing is that now you're adding 3 ball dominant playmakers. And now can LeBron play off the ball? Of course, we've seen him do it, but LeBron
that's at his not best. His best.
Exactly, that's not at his best. LeBron at his best, he needs the rock. And I don't know how you make that fit. Not even D'Antoni, because D'Antoni's system is pick and roll one guy, and he makes all of the decisions. He likes the Bill Belichick type of system. Hey, get it to Tom Brady and let him do what he do. He just pick you apart. So I don't see how that'll work. But in San Antonio, I think with a Kawhi Leonard, now he gets the guy that can guard KD, so he don't got to guard KD the whole damn game and get crapped on like KD typically does to LeBron now, let's be honest. So I think that's the only other spot. Philly, obviously, because they're young, they have Embiid. He's proven to be to at least be one season healthy. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, they still manage this back-to-backs. Now he's starting to play back-to-backs. But, he looks good. And if he could stay healthy with Ben Simmons and LeBron, that's a problem. But I like what Cleveland has done. And the other reason why I like what Cleveland has done is because now you don't have anybody else to challenge LeBron's prominence and dominance, right? LeBron is clear-cut the best player. Everything comes through LeBron. The second guy that's going to eat is K-Love. All of you guys do what you do. They're role players, and they're young, athletic role players. So now there's 2 things that I see that can be issues this season as they go through the playoffs. Can they establish an identity, and what do they look like when they face adversity, right? Now, the one thing I do like is that I think the young guys, they're too young to know better. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that the moment, maybe the finals, if they make it to the finals, right? I think that moment could be a little bit too big for a couple of them. But throughout the playoffs, I don't think that moment can be too big. And I think that they just might play out of this world. And, you know, obviously Golden State has the bigger names. They have the better chemistry, obviously. They have the better system. They have the better coach. They have a lot of things in their favor. If Bron wins this chip, I think this supersedes the comeback from down 3-1.
Agreed. He needs a guy like Kyrie.
Mm-hmm.
If you gave LeBron this exact team, like the trades that they made at the deadline, and then you still had Kyrie, man, that would be a team I would say, okay, give that'll give Golden State a problem for sure, because the athleticism and all that, like you said, man, that's key. LeBron needs these kinds of young talents. You know, I know he prefers the veterans, but you know, but he needs these young guys.
You know, I was thinking about this, right? Kyrie's gone, Wade's gone, and I'm looking at this new team like, who is that for him on the squad? Jordan Clarkson? Because I think he thinks he's it.
Yeah, he definitely thinks he's it.
And he can score. And maybe this could be him. Maybe LeBron can help him elevate his game to the next level. I don't know. We'll see. But he was just stuck in L.A. and stuck on a Lakers team that really had no direction until Magic came aboard. And that direction didn't include him. So now you go play with the best player, you know, in the world. Not only that, you get a chance to go to the playoffs. You've never been. And this is what you all have been wanting for. Same with Rodney Hood. I think he's going to be a key too. But I think this team fits perfectly for who LeBron is. Like, it has so many different pieces and parts that they can kind of move in and out, and they can play so many different styles. It's going to be interesting to kind of see how this plays out, because he got shooters, he got guys that can run up and down the court. He got the veteran, you know, in George Hill. J.R. Smith seems like he's happy again. I think Tristan Thompson's probably going to lose his job. He got another Deli and Chetty, and he got a lights out shooter in Korver, who's perfect in the regular season, but he can't shoot in the playoffs. And Jeff Green. So it's exciting, man. But I think what made it exciting is just the fact that they made all these moves. You know, we don't see this in the NBA, not at this level.
First time in 30 years.
And George Hill already basically put everybody in their place. He said, we're Robins. That's it. Mm-hmm. Like you said, Ralph, no egos. He said, we're here to do a job, play a role. We're all Robins to his Batman.
Yep.
And
yep.
What do you?
That's it. That's exactly what they are. And the thing is that in pretty much all of their roles throughout their NBA careers, whether it's been, you know, George Hill or the younger guys, that's what they've been. You know, I don't think nobody's come in talking about, you know, I'm going to be a superstar, or, you know, there's sometimes, man, like, you have to project a ceiling for people, right? Rodney Hood's ceiling, he's pretty much almost reached his whole ceiling. Like, how much better is Rodney Hood going to get? A little bit more efficient, a little bit more experience, but he's not going to turn into no superstar. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that. I don't think Jordan Clarkson is going to turn into no superstar. These are solid rotational young pieces that provide shooting, shot creation, and finishing ability, and also athletic enough to compete at the defensive end, even if they may not be considered a top defender. Jordan Clarkson plays the passing lanes. You know what I'm saying? Rodney Hood is a 6'8" shooting guard. Larry Nance is a rim protector, finisher. You know, and we already know about George Hill. He's been in the league, you know, 10, 12 years now. But, like, man, look, this Cleveland team, do they need a little bit more seasoning? You know, obviously, if they can add something in the offseason, of course. I still think that, like, a guy like a DeAndre Jordan, you know, a rim runner, offensively, pick and roll, a rim defender defensively, you know, where even if he doesn't get a lot of blocks, he's changing a lot of shots. I think that's the one aspect of this squad that's missing. But outside of that, man, like this is scary. This is scary, and they're still not at 100% because, look, let's be honest. Before IT got back, K-Love was damn near a 2010 guy again.
Mm-hmm.
And why is he not going to be a 2010? He's the clear-cut second option.
Yep.
The clear cut. Like, none of you guys can do what K-Love does. K Love is going to eat out there. He's going to eat out there. And if Rodney Hood already talking about, I never had wide open shots like this, bro, you K Love out there going to be even crazier, bro.
Yeah.
So man, I like it. I like it. And you know what, man? I think Dan Gilbert, man, I think he touche Bron. I think he touche Bron because if Bron leaves, hey, look, man, we did everything in our power to make sure that you have the best squad to compete. If you want to leave, that's on you. Because with this squad, if LeBron, I'm not talking about, if you put KD, no. LeBron, with this squad, he should be able to compete for championships. I think now, again, they are the favorites to come out the East. And y'all know, I was early on Boston. I was like, hey, no, they're not getting past Boston. They can beat Boston now.
Moving on. B sent us this in the Dead End Sports text thread. And the funny thing is, B, I saw this right when I was heading out, and all I could do was roll my eyes, man. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, so for those of you that don't know, and we have some people that just listen to us just to keep up with sports. They don't even watch sports. They just like to listen to us. LeVar Ball is back again. And this fool said that Lonzo won't sign with any team unless they sign his two brothers. Now, we all know that sounds ridiculous. And we all know that more than likely that's not going to happen. But the fact that he's saying it, the fact that he's back at it again is a problem. So, I mean, what are the Lakers going to do with Lonzo and LeVar, man? Like, this is getting out of hand.
I think at this point, man, if he hasn't already, I think Lonzo got to at least say something to his pops, man. I mean, I know they've been like a freaking robot saying the same dang on responses and stuff about whenever someone asks him about their dad. But Lonzo, he gotta pull his pops to the side, because now at this point, I feel like his pops might mess up his chance of him playing in the NBA again, because now not only you look at the Lakers organization and it's like, okay, this dude right here, Lonzo is a great fella. I mean, Lonzo seems like he's a cool dude, like a guy that's, to himself, really about his business and everything, no drama. But it's like, do you want to deal with the drama and the circus that your dad's going to bring? So it's like, if Lakers, happen to not re-sign him or let him go or release him, then I don't think no other team's going to want to deal with that. They're going to be like, look, well, we're not going to sign your son because, we're not going to sign you, Lonzo, because of your dad. Can you get your dad under control and all that stuff? And then Lonzo might say a robotic response again or whatever. And this could mess up Lonzo's ball career, especially if his ceiling is only a solid, like a George Hill type of ceiling.
Yeah.
Is like Hill, then a lot of teams is not going to want to deal with him. Now, unless he's like superstar status, Kyrie Irving, Stephen Curry type of status, then I can see teams being like, okay, well, we'll just deal with that. But LeVar, man, he's messing it up with his son. Lonzo will end up going out to Lithuania with his brothers and playing over there because he's messing it up at this point, man. It's like, I mean, seriously, you so silly, Ken. I'm serious, and it's like what I said in the text thread too, man. It's like he expects his kids to get everything, and they not even paying dues. Like, they haven't even paid dues yet. It's like, dude, you took your son out of UCLA, you took your youngest son out of high school, and this is like, you want your kids to be handed everything. You getting mad just because your son did something stupid as stealing in China, and then the university punished him, gave him, suspended indefinitely, and now you just want to pack up and run because things ain't going your way. Your son's got to pay dues first, brother. So until the end, I just think it's a bad situation, man. Lonzo has to talk to his pops if he haven't yet, man. I hope he has, but yeah, it's getting to the point now where you messing up all three of your sons' potential playing together in the NBA. Like I said before, they're gonna be playing Lithuania together. They ain't gonna be playing the NBA together. So Lonzo, I mean LeVar, man, I this be my love-hate relationship with him. Sometimes I be like, man, I like LeVar. He remind me of the crazy relative, blase. But then when he do stuff like this has to be the most ridiculous thing he's probably said or done so far since his son has entered the NBA.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. I think LeVar. How do I say this? Like, I just think it's getting old, quite frankly. Like, I understand why he's doing it and everything, but to me, it's getting old. And I think even the ESPNs and stuff who traditionally like covered it and promoted it, I think even they're getting sick and tired of it. Like, I'm reading, headlines from not just ESPN, but like Complex and all these other media outlets, and the headline is LeVar's at it again. So, you could kind of tell the narrative is starting to switch on him, and he's kind of doing it a little bit too much as far as overhyping his kids and, saying outrageous stuff and everything for attention. But and yeah, you're right, BZ, too, about the whole superstar versus like George Hill type. Like, I mean, we seen, I don't know if you guys remember, but a couple years ago, Steph Curry got his younger brother to sign with the Warriors for like a season. And I think he got cut sometime in that season, so he didn't even last the full season. So, when you are a superstar, you can kind of get your foot in the door. Now, I don't know about getting 2 in the door. That's 2 roster spots dedicated to that's a lot. You have to be a damn good player. I mean, LeBron's probably the only dude that could get 2 players in the door as far as relatives go. But, I get it though from LeVar's standpoint though, because I mean, shit. Let's be real. I don't think either of those other brothers are getting in the NBA unless Lonzo brings them in. So, you gotta do what you gotta do, I guess.
And I think that's the thing that sticks out to me the most. Is that has LeVar finally reached a point where he realizes that maybe they're not going to get to the NBA. Maybe I'm just going to get one in. And, he's trying to, like B said, instead of having them earn their way in, ride the back of Lonzo and his mouth to get in. What LeVar has done is, with all of the crazy things that he said up to this point, he's put not only Lonzo in a precarious situation, but himself, because nobody else is going to want to deal with him, and nobody else is going to want to deal with them boys. So let's throw the boys in there too. So the rest of the balls are in trouble. But and look, to be honest, with the way Lonzo's playing, he might be in trouble. So if he doesn't get better, so it's unfortunate, man. I think he's ruining a good thing that he had going, and now is at the point where nobody even wants to talk about him anymore. You don't drug these boys all the way overseas, and people are still covering them because they generate attention, they generate clicks, but that's about it. So what happens when nobody clicks on those posts anymore? And they're not the cool kids that everybody in high school once believed. Because the thing about Lonzo is, let's just be real, Lonzo isn't flashy. Lonzo isn't fun to watch. Like, for basketball people, like, there are certain things that, that we may like out of him. But in terms of, like, the casual fan, nobody give a damn about Lonzo Ball. So, like, he's not running out there dunking on people and doing all these super duper fancy passes or anything like that. Nah. So yeah, man, I think Lonzo, he's probably going to turn into a journeyman unless he turns into like this super duper star, and he still has a lot of time to develop. But if he doesn't, he's done. He's done in LA, and they got IT now, man. They might get that money to IT.
Okay, first and foremost, it's not like Lonzo is tearing up the league, right? It's not like Lonzo is Donovan Mitchell, Ben Simmons, some of these other rookies really making an impact. Well, I'm not going to say he's not making an impact. Okay, let me take some of the hateration out of my tone, a little bit of that out of my tone, because you know what, I'm being extremely reactionary right now to the news. But yeah, man, he's off his rocker. You know what I'm saying? I've been a LeVar Ball proponent. I've been on his side. I understand where he tries to come from. But here's the thing, bro. This is the big leagues. And, like, your kid's not LeBron. Like, your kid is not day one. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's be honest. Like, he needs a little bit of seasoning for him to be what he can be, which I still believe he can be a great player in the NBA. But he's not there yet, and you can't make demands. And second of all, when is Lonzo or any one of his kids going to nip this in the bud? You know what I'm saying? I know you dad, but, bro, you messing with my money. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're already telling the Lakers that if my other two sons don't sign, or you don't sign my other two sons, I'm not going to sign. First of all, you're putting words in my mouth. Then what do you think that does to my value across the league? Like you mess it with the money, man. So, I'm always for the money. It's a business. I understand making business moves, getting, your brand out there. I know Lonzo has his own mixtape that he's about to perform out there in Lithuania. And I think that thing is dropping like right before All-Star weekend as well. So, like I understand, get your brand out there. But you are not in a position of leverage yet. That's like you flex muscle when Melo comes. Like obviously he's balling out there, but let's say if he jumps to a different pro league at the highest level and he's balling, scoring 30, 40, 50 points, then you may have a little bit of leverage, but they don't have that yet. Like he's trying to play with house money, but the house is about to win, man. And it's good when it comes tumbling down, it's gonna be ugly. And you know what? Like, even though he's trying to pioneer a lot of stuff, I think he's leaving a bad taste in everybody's mouth. And stuff like this is it's B grade, man. To me, it's not big baller. Like, big ballers don't operate in that way. So, man, that's sad.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that the Lakers are playing good without him. As we mentioned earlier, we started the show off with the Cleveland Cavaliers and the moves that they made. But there were a lot of other trades that went down last week, and some trades were overlooked because everybody was talking about the Cavs. And let's be real, if you're a basketball fan, it was exciting, right? I was like blown away, man. We haven't seen anything like that in a while, So what other trades that you guys saw that went down, if you have any? I don't know if you have any, but were there any other low-key trades that caught you guys' attention or that was overlooked?
Absolutely. To me, one that really caught my eye, and it's two, but they're kind of done in the same vein, was the Elfrid Payton and Emmanuel Mudiay trades. I mean, to get Emmanuel Mudiay, who I don't remember the draft order off the top of my head, but I think was like a 5th pick or 5th through 8th, I want to say, somewhere in that range. So a top 10 pick. To give only a 2nd rounder to get him, if you're New York, a team that's capped and can't really get young talent, then that was just an absolute home run. I wish my team Detroit would have threw in a 2nd round pick for a guy like Emmanuel Mudiay. Like, that is a 2nd round pick for a guy of that caliber that was drafted that early. I know his stay in Denver hasn't been much, but like, you got to take a flyer on that. Like, that's a huge get for New York. Like, I really like it. Even if it doesn't work out, I'd make that trade 100 times out of 100, because I mean, to take a flyer on a guy like that, you have to do it. And same with Elfrid Payton. Now, I'm not high on either of these guys right now, but again, you just gotta take those opportunities. Phoenix giving up a 2nd round pick to get Elfrid Payton, like, who was again another lottery pick. Like, you have to do that if you're these teams that are just trying to get young talent that can develop and build. So I loved those moves. I thought those were some very nice under the radar trades that I think may pay dividends. They may not, but still, again, it's a move you make if you're a GM 10 times out of 10.
Hey Chris, real quick, I know you wasn't on here when we talked about it. I don't even think I spoke with you on Twitter about this. That's surprising. But what you think about that Blake Griffin trade? Because I forgot you a Piston fan just like myself.
Oh yeah, man. If you come to any games in Detroit, let me know. I'll definitely be there. But okay. I love the Blake trade because to me, it was a move that you have to make if you're a team like Detroit. Like, you have to be aware of your team's state. And to me, Detroit is a team that hasn't signed a player of Blake Griffin's caliber in a long time, maybe ever. So to sign a guy like that, so if you can't sign a guy like that, you have to either draft for him or trade for him. And so, Tobias and Avery Bradley, well, they were nice pieces. I know.
Yeah, I hate to see Tobias go. I hate to see him go.
Hated to see him go. He was the second best Piston this year. Like, he was amazing, and he was the best Piston even last year. Like, he was an absolutely amazing player on a good contract. But with him and Bradley, you flip that trade for Blake, and I get the injury risk and all that, and it's a lot of money. And the last year or two of that deal could be pretty ugly if Blake really slows down and is continued to be injured. Like, I get the downside, but if you're Detroit, you have to go for that because your team was nowhere near tank level and they were nowhere near like championship level. So to me, they were in this middle tier where they're like a fringe playoff team, and you can't be that. You have to commit one way or the other, and they committed the winning way. And I applaud that. So to get a guy like Blake, I think was an awesome move because I don't think Detroit could get a guy like that under contract for 5 years any other way. So I loved the move. And if you think about it reasonably, Avery Bradley's a free agent this year. He could walk or he could get like $15 million a year. So would you rather have Blake Griffin at $30+ million a year, or would you rather have Avery Bradley at $15 million? And Tobias is probably going to get 18 to 20 something. So between Avery and Tobias, would you rather have those two combined for 30 to 35 million, or Blake for the same price? And I'm going with Blake, a guy who's a star. So that's what I think.
That injury prone, it worries me though. Him being injury prone worries me, but
there's definitely cause to be concerned. So I get people that are concerned, and like I said, it could look ugly a few years down the line. But for right now, I mean, Blake and Drummond, like that's a nice tandem. And if you get a star like Blake, you'll put seats in the arena that's been struggling with attendance. And not only that, but with having Blake and Drummond, you can maybe convince a third guy to come in now, because now you got two. So maybe you can get three. So maybe Blake's the guy who gets you the third guy. And so I think it was a great move for Detroit. I totally understand it.
I think we gave up a little too much. That's all. I just think we gave up too much. Like the draft picks, Tobias, and Avery Bradley. Avery Bradley, I kind of understand because I don't think he was going to be in for the long haul anyway. But I didn't want to see Tobias Harris go. I was like, man, if we could at least kept him, maybe throw in a Stanley Johnson and Avery Bradley, something, I'd have been happy. But it's funny though, because since Blake been gone, Stanley he been kind of stepping up now. So
yeah. I was so against the Pistons trading Stanley. Stanley's like the last young guy we had under a rookie contract. So to me, he's so valuable.
He's been playing horrible though before that trade.
Oh yeah, but you can't. Again, it's the same thing with Moutier and Payton. Like to me, you can't give up on these guys who were top 10 picks who were only 21, 22. Like I can't give up on a guy like that young.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things was the Clippers choosing not to trade Lou Williams and DeAndre. I think that was the biggest thing at the deadline.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest one. And look, we done seen the Jerry West show before multiple times across the NBA. He's not going to be done, and I don't think Lou Williams and DeAndre Jordan are part of the long-term plans. They were part of the short-term. Let's get to the playoffs and see what we can do this year. And obviously that didn't happen, or the plan changed. So DeAndre and Lou can be gone in the offseason. And I think that's probably what's going to happen to the both of them. I think that Detroit was big to solidify the asset of Blake Griffin right now. So now you got a veteran point guard. You got Ish Smith. And I like Ish Smith, man. I think he's very underrated in the NBA. Pass first point guard, can control tempo in the game. Really like him. So how do you feel about Detroit now that they kind of look like a playoff team? Do you believe in them? Do you see a direction, or are you just kind of eh?
Yeah, kind of I'm still not. So I mean, Blake Griffin has been playing terrible as of late. Lost to the Hawks, and we shouldn't have lost to them. We lost to somebody else that we shouldn't have
The
lost.
Pelicans, yeah. I mean, they won five straight. They won 5 straight and dropped 3 straight. So it's like it's very hard to kind of gauge where this team is at right now.
Yeah, it really is, man. And I'm just not sold on Blake. I've just never been sold on Blake. It's just like I don't know, man. I just never. He's never been that consistent superstar guy that we thought he was gonna be, man. I don't know. I'm not sold on that dude at all.
Okay. That's cool. I like the moves that they made, though. I think they're better now than what they were. And I think that you see a clear direction. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the thing I like. I think what they're missing now is obviously I think they got to get rid of Reggie Jackson. I think you get rid of him via a trade.
Yes.
And I think you got to get younger at the wing positions, at the 1 and 2. They need to find them a dynamic backcourt, but it doesn't need to be superstar backcourt. I think that you need a pass first point guard that can score, and I think you need a 3-and-D guy at your 2 because you already have that in Stanley, and obviously he's still developing. But then the offense is really going to go through Blake and your pass first point guard, and then you have Andre Drummond as a finisher, and you have your 2 wings that can play 3-and-D. So I think that's the direction that they go in. So I like what the moves that they've made. And then obviously this year to kind of solidify the playoff push, right? You need guys like Jameer. So, but nothing really stood out.
Last one. Were you surprised that Kemba didn't get traded?
Nah. Charlotte doesn't have, again, they're not a destination for stars. So I think I can understand why it's hard for them to part with one. Even though I think now was the time to do it when he's on a 2-year deal and has, and it's a very team-friendly deal at only $12 million. So I think it's I'm not surprised he wasn't traded, but I think they should have looked to trade him.
Well, here's the thing. I think I'm more surprised Nick Batum wasn't traded because that's the word. Like, look, you're 100% right? Like, you can't, and on teams like that, you can't get rid of guys like Kemba. Mainly because right now, even though like they're stuck in the playoff purgatory, right? They're good enough to make the playoffs, but what are they really doing? They're not doing nothing. Then you cannot draft the young enough talent that you need to kind of make the moves that you need to make for the future. So with all that being said, I think Nick Batum was the guy that you needed to get off the books, mainly because the only way that you're going to be able to improve this team is going to be through free agency. And obviously that's going to be tough, mainly because you only have Kemba, right? So with them, I think they either need to trade whatever the hell they got that they can trade in terms of Michael Kidd-Gilchrist or whatever. And I think they need to look at draft picks. And I know that's not going to tickle Kemba's fancy, because at where he's at right now, I know he wants to start to compete. Ooh, excuse me. I know Kemba's going to want to start to compete because his peers, they're competing, and he's not, and he's on their level. So I know how that can eat at you as a competitor. But Michael Jordan, he got to do something, man. He kind of has to figure it out. He has to figure it out. But I think Batum got to go.
The Celtics. Celtics got off to a hot start. Everybody was talking about Kyrie balling, this, that, and the other. 16 straight. And lately, they've been 4, 5, 6 games above 500. Lost 3 out of 4. Nobody's talking about it because everything's really, all of the attention been on the Cavs. So a lot of people had the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals, myself included, at the time when they were playing well, had them in the finals after they beat Golden State. But nevertheless, they haven't been playing well. So what's going on with the Celtics, man? Like, are they getting a pass for their play? Is this something we should be concerned about? What's going on in Boston?
I agree with you. I think it's alarming, Ken. Like, I think we should be alarmed because, I mean, to even extend that sample size of the last 4 games, if you go over the last 15 games, they're 7-8 with a losing record. So, So it should be a little bit concerning, especially when two of your recent losses are blowouts by the Raptors and the Cavs, who are some of your biggest threats in the conference. So there's definitely room to be concerned, especially because, you know, you looked at the beginning of the year how this team was overachieving and it was a magical story and everything. But, you know, I think to me this is kind of just a stretch that should have been expected, because when you're relying on young guys to be big contributors like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, like, you know, statistically, you know, and historically, like, that just doesn't work too well. Having young guys be big factors on a team. So to me, there should have been more foresight to this happening, in my opinion. But also at the same time, you know, teams go through stretches all season. Like, I'm not really worried about the Celtics. Like, I still think they're one of the best 3 teams in the East. And I still think come playoff time, like, even though their offense is bad, their defense is good. And when you have a guy like Kyrie in the playoffs, like, that's just going to really help. And that's one of the best things to have, is a guy like Kyrie in the playoffs who can get a bucket on anyone. So I think he'll help elevate their offense. But, you know, yeah, to me, I guess I'm just not as concerned, because I kind of more so saw this coming. I just didn't think what they had was too sustainable. But you know, they've been proving me wrong all year. So who knows? Maybe they are closer to the team that they were at the beginning of the year. But I think they're closer to what we're seeing now, which is a slightly above 500 team, than as opposed to the team that won 16 back in, you know, October and November.
So they were overhyped.
Yeah, 100%. 100% they were overhyped, in my opinion. You know, and that's no disrespect. Like everything changes if Gordon Hayward comes back, because to me, like, Jaylen Brown and Tatum and all those guys, they can be really good. They could be far better role players than I thought they could. The problem is right now they're just having to be starters and kind of like co-stars. And so that's an issue. But when Gordon Hayward comes back and they're allowed to just kind of be themselves and fill around the team, like, that's going to be a huge thing. So I think, you know, whenever he comes back, like, it'll be huge. It'll be huge for them, obviously, getting a guy like him back. But I think it will also help the young guys a lot. And that, to me, is really all it is just my kind of, I just always have had strong beliefs, and, you know, it's hard for young guys to be solid contributors early on in their careers. So that's kind of where my skepticism came from with the Celtics.
Yeah, long season, you know, it's 82 games. It's going to be stretches where you're going to look like a top tier team sometimes, for the most part. Most teams, most good teams is going to go through stretches where you look invincible, and you're going to go through a stretch where you questioning how is the season going to end, or how is it going to turn out come playoffs. And I just think Boston is hitting a mark in the season where they just kind of having a rough time, you know, having a rough stretch, you know, because they still 40-18, you know, they still like what I think Toronto just surpassed them as the number 1 seed, but you know, they 40-18, they still have a great record. I just think they just hitting the patch. 82 games, man, that's a long haul playing from November to you know, April. So you're gonna have some stretches, and I think this is just a bad stretch. I think probably after the All-Star break or heading in close to March, I think I can see Celtics getting back on the right path and start playing good ball again. I kind of agree with them being a little with Chris about them being a little overhyped. I just really think with Gordon Hayward going down, I think that kind of gave him a boost of inspiration. Like, we gotta try to play this for Hayward and let's see, you know, Hayward, and let's try to make the best out of this season. You know, let's try to do this for him. And I think that's why they started off so good at the beginning of the season, because it was like they was playing with a chip on their shoulder. And, you know, after a while, wear and tearing, back-to-backs and stuff, so on and so forth, they just hitting a speed bump. That's all. There's a couple of speed bumps. And I think they're gonna be okay, man. I mean, I think Kyrie, he's in a great situation. I think we've all said this in several different occasions that Boston is pretty much setting themselves up to be like the cream of the crop in the East for the next, 4 to 5, maybe 6 years, depending on what moves they make, what Danny Ainge do in that front office. But the young guys they got, and I love Jaylen Brown, man. I like Jaylen Brown. Tatum seemed to be proving me wrong because I didn't think he was gonna be that much of a baller as much he's proven now that Gordon Hayward stepped up and I mean got injured and Tatum has stepped up. And I think and I like that they got a backup point guard off the bench, number 12. I keep forgetting his name.
Rozier.
Yeah, I like him. I mean, they got like a nice little group of young guys that can be promising for the years to come. So I just think right now Boston is hitting the speed bump. I'm not hitting the panic button saying, "Oh my God." I think they're going to still be playing in the Eastern Conference Finals against Cleveland this season, this playoffs. But they're just hitting the speed bump.
Yeah, I agree with that.
They're not going to the Eastern Conference Finals. They're not. It's over.
You believe in the Raptors?
Oh, wait. So Ken, you trust the Toronto Raptors?
Hell no.
I do.
Why you trust the Toronto this season? Ken, we've seen this story play out so many times. So what makes you believe in Toronto this season opposed to the last 5 years?
Well, last year was Brad Stevens' first time getting out of the first round. Can he build off of that? Probably, but that remains to be seen. It's not like he's been killing it in the postseason either. I just think this team is slightly a little bit different, man. Veterans, they've been there, and I think, like in the past, I think they've played with a certain arrogance and overconfidence. When they were the number one seeds and whooping up on everybody. This year they're just playing ball and they're just going about their business. But I don't know if it's more about the Raptors or the Celtics. So, like for me, I think BU said this. Losing Gordon Hayward gave them a shot of adrenaline. Kyrie Irving was extremely motivated to prove that he's his own man. But, when they were winning all of those games, and I think I may have said it on this program, like I wasn't a true believer, even though as time went on I changed my mind a little bit, partly because the Cavs were playing so bad. But they were down a lot of double-digit comeback wins to inferior talent, and that's risky. That's dangerous. You can't play around with that. You can't always rely on your resolve over and over again to be the thing that wins you games. So if they don't win those games, they're a 500 ball club. You're going to win some of them, but I think they were playing a dangerous game, and it's starting to catch up to them.
That's a very fair point.
Yeah, so here you are. You've been killing it. You've been at it. And now you look up and you have 4 more. The Cavs only have 4 more losses than you. And they went through like one of the worst stretches ever. If they start winning and get back to their winning ways and the Celtics continue on this path, they can easily drop to 3rd or 4th. So I think they are going to need Hayward at some point. But I think, as we've seen with the Celtics and with Danny Ainge, they're not really overly concerned about this year. They're going to try to win their games, but it's not like a priority. So we'll see, man. But the other thing I have noticed is that Stevens is definitely managing the minutes a lot. So by the time they get to the playoffs, he'll unleash them. So maybe things will be different. So maybe this is all part of the master plan. Because Kyrie's playing 30 to 33 minutes a game. So, so we'll see. So yeah. But, yeah, it's a long season. But I got the Toronto Raptors, man. Toronto Raptors.
I can't believe it. You're getting punked,
I can't
man.
believe it, Ken. You reaching, man. I can't believe you trust Toronto this season. Out of all the seasons, you just believe in it. You just believe in them.
All I'm saying is if the Bucks had a competent head coach, if they didn't have an interim coach, if they had a really good coach with Giannis, man, we wouldn't be discussing who's the other team in the East.
Oh, yeah, well, maybe we'll see. Anyway, so last night, and everybody's been talking about it today. The Warriors are, of course, are in a bit of a funk, and Kerr decided to let the players coach, which is an interesting strategy. I can't say I've ever seen it before or heard of it before. Extremely disrespectful to the Suns. At least I think so. I don't know if you guys agree.
Yep, I agree.
You do?
Yeah. I thought it was.
I don't know. I see it as disrespect too in a way, but also, I mean, the Phoenix Suns have done it to themselves. I heard a stat today that they have tied the NBA record for most 40-point losses in a season, and we're not even over yet. So, they're going to be in the history books in the wrong way.
Wow. So, I mean, have you guys ever seen anything like that? Like, what do you guys think about that as a strategy to get your team on board, get back on track?
It's interesting. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
No. I went first last time. Go ahead. I'll toss it to you this time. Go.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I'm curious. Like, when I saw that, I was wondering, like, how many other coaches can, probably with the exception of Greg Pop, can get away with this. Like, I wonder, like, if any other coaches would have did this, they would have got slaughtered. They would have got hammered. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wonder, like, okay, Greg Pop can get away with something like this. I can see Phil Jackson in his heyday getting away with something like this. But it's like, what other coaches can get away with something like this? Like, and when I saw that, I was like, just like you said, Ken, I was like, man, that was just so much disrespect. I think, I think with Golden State, man, I think they going through what a lot of teams kind of go through when you're winning, when you're getting so used to winning and stuff don't seem as challenging to you anymore. You just start getting bored. You start getting bored. You start getting complacent. You're not playing the top level ball that you need to play through a long 82-game season. And I think Steve Kerr was kind of right when he was saying that they were mentally fried because, going 3, 4, 5 years playing from, late October to June, for 4 consecutive seasons, that can be draining. You know what I'm saying? I remember Isaiah Thomas said that in the Bad Boys, the 30 for 30 on Bad Boys, how he was saying, all those long runs that they had every single, for 5, 6 years straight, it just got draining to him. It just got mentally and physically draining. And I think that's starting to happen with this Golden State squad. Minus, this is Kevin Durant's like really first time having that championship taste, but he's been playing long ball with OKC. They've been getting far in the playoffs. So I just think just as a whole, the team they're just trying to find new ways to motivate themselves to make themselves play at the level that they know that they can play at to try to, get the championship because it's easy getting that first one, especially when you're Durant. It's getting that second one, that third one, like still having that hunger to still go out there and want to beat everybody because everybody coming at you with their A game. That's one thing, even though I didn't care for Jordan, but that's one thing I respect the hell out of him. Them 6 championships. Teams were still coming at you, and they still had that focus like they never won a championship. And they already won 3. They already won 4. They already won 5. And you still have that urge to go win your 6th championship. Like, I still respect Jordan for that, man, because that takes a lot of physical and mental stamina. And I just think right now we just seeing that with Golden State. Me personally, I still think they're going to win a championship. I think they're going to repeat. I think Durant is going to be a 2-time, champion. But just right now, they just trying to find ways to motivate themselves. They're bored right now. I think once playoffs come, they're going to turn it up. They might end up sweeping the first 2, maybe first 3 rounds in the playoffs. Once they play at their high level that they can. The bench has been playing really poor lately. The Golden State bench, they haven't been playing up to par. Livingston haven't been playing good. Andre Iguodala has been playing good. David West. So it's just they just having a mental block right now, man. That's what I think. And that's what I've seen experience from teams that have gotten used to winning over the years.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely a mental block. I also think that another storyline of this should be is just like is this should be another nod to Steve Kerr because how many coaches you're right B as far as like Pop and Kerr are probably the only guys that could get away with it, but also it's pretty unselfish and pretty ego and pretty egoless to give away, you know, like to step aside and say, I'm going to let the players coach, and kind of like almost in a way devalue yourself, because, you know, there's a strong community out there that believes that coaches don't matter. I personally disagree with that heavily, but you know, there's a community out there. So guys like Kerr and stuff are going to get backlash, and they get backlashed all the time. Oh, you know, they have all the stars. Of course they're winning games. Anybody could coach them. I think that's what one of the Phoenix Suns players said, Troy Daniels, but he's got to just worry about staying in the league if we're being real. So I think, yeah, man, I think you're right, though. I think this team is just mentally fried. They're looking for new challenges, and they're looking for ways to motivate themselves. And I think Steve Kerr just saw this as a tactic to say, hey, one, let me just reassure you guys again that I really trust you guys, and, you know, that I'm instilling a lot of the decisions I'm making are involving you guys, and I'm delegating some of the decision making to you guys. So there's that. And there's also, you know, like, I'm going to let you guys do this because I think it's something new, and I think you guys are looking for new challenges because you're bored. And I think that's what motivated them to smack the Suns by 46, you know. So I like it. I'm with it. I understand it. I'm totally cool with it if I'm Steve Kerr and if I'm the Warriors, and honestly, if I'm an NBA fan, I mean, what's the big deal about it? You know, every team runs it their own way, and Steve Kerr's even said, you know, before every playoff game when he makes adjustments, he asks Draymond, he asks Iguodala, he asks the guys on the team, you know, do you think this will work? So, you know, Steve Kerr's always been a guy who doesn't make every decision. He's always believed in like community decision making. So, you know, to me, this is nothing new. I think this is just new because a lot of fans don't really know that about Steve Kerr. So I think that's why it's shocking them. But truthfully, this stuff is happening all the time.
Man, that's see, this is what great coaching does. Popovich has done it. That's where he took it from. Great coaching.
Popovich did it?
Yeah, Popovich.
Yeah, he did it with Tony Parker.
Mm-hmm. And Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They've coached the whole game. So, you know, I know where he got it from. You know, obviously he's part of that Popovich tree. I think he's the only one with Phil and Pop, you know what I'm saying, where he's played for both of them. So, you know, where Steve Kerr's mind is at, man, you know, like I think it's a good thing. And the reason why is because when you allow those type of things to happen, you know, it allows you as a leader on the squad to hold people accountable. You know, the players being able to coach themselves on and off the court, you know what I'm saying? On the sidelines, like it's not like it doesn't happen, right? Like most times players, you know, we scheme amongst each other. Even though coach may say, hey, this is what I want you to do, you know what I'm saying? Like me and BB on the court be like, hey, B, next time he does this, you know, you cut here. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just how basketball gets down. So I like it. You know what I'm saying? It just shows the culture of the Golden State Warriors, that they're loose. And for that organization and how they play, that's a really good thing. You know, you don't ever want to really play with a lot of pressure or being tense. And I think, you know, on the flip side of that, when you watch LeBron-led teams, that's how they play. They play with the pressure of championship aspirations. But when you can kind of relieve yourself of that and just play freely, that's when you're most dangerous. And that's the reason why, that's another proponent as to why Golden State is as dangerous as they are. Because it's not only that they have great players, but that culture that they have, man, is second to none in the NBA right now. And what Kerr's doing is just another example of that.
It's a little gimmicky, though.
It is, yeah.
You know, a little cutesy. You know, oh, we playing the Phoenix Suns. Like, Steve Kerr, like, nobody could have coached last night, and they would have beaten them by at least 20. That's just how bad they are.
Also, let's not. I was just gonna say, let's not, as another dig, let's not forget that Steve Kerr, you know, once worked for the Suns. So that was that could have also been a little bit of a knock to the Suns in that way too. Is another disrespectful shot at the Suns.
But you know, I think Jared Dudley, I think he had a good point. Like, you know, and yeah, I know we can easily say, you know, well, it's up to you, you know, to you know, get better and not beat them. Yeah, the Phoenix Suns have a lot of problems, and that is exactly And I think, that is a good stance to take. But I think Dudley said it right. Like, would they do this against the Spurs or the Rockets or anyone else like that? Probably not, because they look at that's the game that they have to win. So I don't know, man. Like Devin Booker had this to say. He said you can look at it two ways. You can say anybody can coach that team, or you can say it's a good method. I like the move personally. If I was a coach, I'd do that throughout the year. So I wouldn't even look at it as disrespectful. I'm sure people are going to say it's disrespectful, but I think Steve is an easygoing guy who has that relationship with these guys. But if he didn't have 4 all-stars, I don't think he'll be doing that. So, on one hand, he's saying, yeah, it would be cool if I got a chance to do that. But on the other hand, he's saying, but he got the all-star, so he's able to do that. But I don't know, man. It's the same old stuff the Warriors do every time. Like, they always find this, not to get all Colin Cowherd, but this old Bay Area, look at me, I'm cool, I'm hip type of thing. And and he's going to give let them coach. So, but at the same time, it shows the IQ that a lot of the players on that team have for them to be able to go out and do that. So props to them. Platty, we haven't had a chance to really talk to you about this, and we had a debate on this show about 2 weeks ago. I think we did a Rookie of the Year show. So what do you think about, first of all, what did you think about Donovan Mitchell's clutch performance last night, and just his overall play this year, and whether or not do you think that what he did last night got him any closer to being Rookie of the Year over Ben Simmons?
So yeah, to tackle those questions, yeah. First off, yes, I do think that it got Donovan Mitchell closer because we've seen it with all the awards. There's a narrative involved. With Westbrook with the MVP, there was a narrative involved. The whole KD leaving. So that stuff, as much as we don't want to say it factors into voting, it definitely does. So yeah, it definitely helps when a rookie is able to propel a team, and in Utah now suddenly winning 10 in a row and become this magical team that looked like they were in the depths of the West, and now maybe now they'll make the playoffs. So there's definitely like that narrative starting to form there, and so that always helps when you're chasing an award. And as far as his play goes, I've been very impressed. It just every time I see his box score, man, I just my heart drops a little as a Pistons fan. That I can't believe we didn't take him. I knew nothing about the draft coming in, but I heard. Yeah, man.
I knew about him though. I knew about Mitchell. Like, I was literally screaming when it was our pick, and I'm like, okay, cool, we about to get this Mitchell dude. Luke Kennard. I'm like, oh my God. And then the next pick, freaking Utah picked Mitchell. I was like, you idiots.
Stan wants that 09 Magic team so bad. He's just trying to get every player. You just got Jameer Nelson back at the deadline. But anyways.
Right. Like, why?
Yeah. But anyways, man. No, I think he's good because he's shown a lot of confidence being the lead scorer. He's shown a lot of consistency too. And even in his struggles, he had games where he went like 1 for 6 or whatever. But even in those games, and those stretches of the season, like, he's remained aggressive and confident. And that, to me, is something that very few rookies have. So, he's been great. I don't personally think he's Rookie of the Year yet because I just love how Ben Simmons is playing. I think Ben Simmons is the better player. But, I'm not mad at anybody who says he's Rookie of the Year. But I think I'm more so just all in on Ben Simmons as opposed to being a slight on Donovan. But
we got another one, B. Got another Ben.
You guys don't like?
No, I like Ben Simmons. But another Ben Simmons truther, man.
He's phenomenal.
Nah, man, he can play. I mean, you look at his numbers; it's crazy. But he's just not doing what Donovan Mitchell is doing, man. Like, it's crazy to see that. And it's been a slow burn for him to come to national attention. He's been one of those other guys that, we've been talking about early on this show, just watching him play and just seeing the poise. And like B just said, and I'm pretty sure he mentioned that on our coverage of the draft, how he wanted the Pistons to take Donovan Mitchell, and it never happened. So yeah, man. So I think we have a long way to go. We have like 30-something games, so he has a lot of work to do because nobody knows who he is. So he doesn't have the brand. I hate saying this word, but he doesn't have the brand recognition that a Ben Simmons does. And to be honest, he doesn't do as much as Ben Simmons does on the court. And in this day and age, it's about
what it comes down to.
Yeah, it's about stuffing the stat sheet and, those old school guys that just go out and get buckets, are not really looked upon as the guys anymore, which is unfortunate, man. It's the analytic era. That's what we're in. The analytic era.
Yeah, man. No, I'm not mad at anybody who says Donovan Mitchell now. Like he's a beast, and as much as we talked about his offense, he's just as good on the other side of the ball. So he's a great two-way player, and it breaks my heart that he's not in the Motor City.
Well, yeah, that steal that he got, I think put him up one last night, and then just his composure, man, and he's not afraid to take tough shots. Like he has that in him. So, and I think he has superstar potential written all over him, to the point where they even got rid of Rodney Hood because of him, and he became a starter. That's just how good he is. And so it's going to be interesting watching his career play out over the years, although I can be extremely patient about that because that's only going to mean I'm going to get older. So anyway, I wanted to do something a little bit different and just try to look at some of the teams that are at the bottom of the league that nobody really talks about, and see, like, if we were the GM, what would we do to kind of change that team? Like, there are certain things we could do now, in terms of playing certain people, not playing certain people, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to start with, I guess it's pick on the Suns week. The Phoenix Suns, they're terrible. They fired their coach. Didn't they? Earl Watson earlier this year.
Yep.
If I remember correctly. Yeah, fired the brother, Earl Watson, in favor of Jay Triano, and they didn't get any better. So, if you were the GM of the Suns, what would you do? Now or in the future? Either or.
To me, I think the best method, and we kind of talked about these things earlier in the podcast. Like, to me, when you're a team like the Suns who doesn't have a lot of options as far as free agency goes and stuff, or you're just years away from being an attractive destination as far as free agency goes, the best thing to do for me, I would say, is to take on bad contracts to acquire picks. We're seeing because of how much the market exploded in 2016. We're seeing now, like, that money is super, super tight in the NBA right now, and there's a lot of bad contracts going around. So if I'm the Suns, I would look to take on bad contracts. The problem is they're already capped out because they participated in some of those bad contracts with Dudley and Chandler. But as those become expiring next year, maybe you can flip those for some picks and get some value. Because to me, the best way to build is still through the draft. You have the players the longest. You get to develop them. You get to really see what they are. So I think that's the best move. Or you could just stockpile the picks to trade it for a star, like when Kyrie became available. You never know when those kinds of players are going to become available. Anthony Davis might, depend on how the Boogie situation falls out. So to me, you got to do that. And what we talked about earlier in this podcast is just taking flyers on young guys. Like, I'm all for moving a second round pick or a first round pick for a guy who's in a bad situation that just didn't work out. Like, that's how you find those diamond in the rough players. And, like there's a reason why the Spurs were calling the Pistons constantly about Stanley Johnson, because they're like, okay, let's see if this team's dumb enough to get rid of a guy who's 21, but who's not working, but is only 21 and has the body of an NBA superstar. So, to me, you gotta look and find young players in bad situations and say, okay, do a little bit of research, and if you think he's salvageable, move a pick for that, and take on that rookie or that young guy, and just see what you can develop him into. And Phoenix has a great track record of developing guards, so they just have a problem with keeping them or treating them after they develop them. So to me, like, going after a guy like Payton is the right move. So I think they should continue to make those kinds of moves, as well as just look to take on bad contracts in the future if they can, to acquire draft picks.
So B, Josh Jackson, rookie. They just traded for Elfrid Payton, and they got Devin Booker. Now you like Devin Booker, B. You like Josh Jackson?
But I think, let's see, and they got Brandon Knight, they got Elfrid Payton. I would say I would try to ship some of them guards, and their front court is soft, man. Like, Tyson Chandler is like a shell of himself. You got Alex Len, and you got Dragan Bender.
Bender, yeah,
who's pretty much, I think he's a rookie or so, or second year.
Second year, yeah.
Yeah, you got TJ Warren, who's solid, but I think he's been kind of fighting injuries a little bit. So is Devin Booker, man. He's been fighting injuries this year, but I still like him. But I would definitely get front court. I'm trying to think how I would do this. Like, will I gamble in letting Devin Booker go? And the reason why I say Devin Booker is because it don't seem like he's happy there. Like, I feel like he doesn't want to be in Phoenix no more. Like, and if he don't want to be in Phoenix no more, then let me trade him while they're getting this good. I don't want to keep him until his stock drops or anything, and then team's not going to give me much. I'm pretty sure it's a lot of teams that will love Devin Booker services right now. And if I can manage to get a nice front court guy, a good power forward or a center for Devin Booker, and maybe some picks, I do that. I do that move. Like I said, Devin Booker seems like he is not happy, especially when they fire Watson. It seemed like he's not happy at Phoenix right now. I mean, yeah, he's still balling and putting up numbers when he plays because that's what he does. But I feel like if I can try to get something from a young up-and-coming superstar that still hasn't hit his peak yet, if I can get some front court guys, because like if I let Devin Booker go, I still got Josh Jackson, I still got Elfrid Payton, I still got Brandon Knight, I still got T.J. Warren, I got Tyler Ulis. I mean, I still got guard play. You know what I'm saying? And like Chris said, Phoenix they do a good job of developing guards. So if I can get a beastly power forward or center or a center, well, power forward really, since the game is going smaller, a nice good power forward and some draft picks, man, that's my move. I'm making that move.
Yeah, but my thing with that is two things. One, I think it's really hard if you're Phoenix to trade a star like Devin Booker when you don't have another star. Like, it'd be one thing if we seen Josh Jackson as a star, and again, he's a rookie, so there's time for that. But right now we're not saying he's a star. We're not saying all these other guys, any of these other guys are a star. And also, with Devin Booker maybe being unhappy, I mean, that just happens when you lose by 40 a lot, and you got to expect that he'll be happy as the team gets better and improves. And also, he's on a rookie contract, which means not only do you have him for 4 years, but then he becomes a restricted free agent. So you have a lot of control over him. So to me, his value won't really, barring any injuries or massive downplay in his performance. He's not going to lose value because he's going to be a guy that has a lot of leverage as far as the team goes. The team has a lot of leverage on a guy like Booker, a young stud on a great team friendly contract. And again, he's going to be a restricted free agent when he's a free agent, which is still 2 years from now. So, they'll have the chance to match any offer. So they really have total control of him. So to me, I think it's too early to consider moving Booker. But you're right; they definitely need front court help. To me, I would look to move some of the picks because they got a nice influx of picks. They got picks from Miami from the Dragic trade, and I think they got. They don't have the LA pick anymore, but I thought they had another pick from LA. Maybe I'm mistaken on that, but they got a nice war chest of draft picks that they can move for some guys. To me, I think the key is just finding young players you believe you can develop into that second star that Booker needs, or that third star. So to me, that's kind of my approach. Is I think this team is years away. So to me, I would take the more patient route as opposed to getting a good player now in the front court and then not really having the other pieces to really compete.
All right, so the first thing I would do is really try to find me a coach that can develop young guys, a coach that's going to pick his guys and stick with them. They have a lot of talent, but they're just not developing their talent. Devin Booker just had it. Like, I didn't think he was going to be the guy that he is now because you hardly saw that in college. So it was just one of those things that was suppressed based on the team that he was playing on. But they got guys that can play. So let's move Devin Booker aside. Marquise Chris showed a lot last year. I think he's unhappy with the rotations and probably with Earl Watson being fired as well. His play has been up and down this year, and his minutes have been up and down this year. Josh Jackson's minutes has been up and down this year. He's playing a lot better. So I think, between the three of them, you got some nice pieces. But let's throw in another guy. Go ahead and throw in TJ Warren into the mix because it's really hard to find guys that can flat out score. And that's what he is. He's a scorer. So I think you got Devin Booker who's, close to being like a superstar. And then you got Josh Jackson. We don't know what he's going to be yet, but he seems to be a utility guy, a little Pippen-esque. And then I think you got other pieces that can just come in and just kind of fill out the roster, but contribute in ways that are meaningful. Like I said, Chris can rebound and block shots, and he can score as well. And then what are you going to do at the 5? I think it's time to bench Chandler and play Alex Len and see what you got there, so you can decide on what to do with him. Brandon Knight, I think Brandon Knight's out of there. That's why you probably trade for Elfrid Payton. And he's not very efficient, but again, he wasn't probably being utilized properly where he was at. But more importantly, what in the hell are you going to do with Dragan Bender? Because we don't know what he is. He's up and down. He's all over the place, this year. So I think for me, you have guys that have shown flashes. You definitely have a guy in Devin Booker. Like, that's a no-brainer. So you got one guy. Now it's a matter of saying, hey, we're going to build the roster around him and Josh Jackson because he looks like he's going to be able to play. And then you kind of go from there. So that's what I would do. I would find a coach that can take these guys and build out a rotation and build out a nice bench and move from there and try to improve the culture of the Phoenix Suns.
Okay, so first and foremost, I wouldn't have traded for Elfrid Payton, mainly because I don't think he's a starting point guard in the NBA. It's not the first time that I said it. He just does not have the offense, and I don't know how you're gonna. I don't know the direction that Phoenix wants to go in, right? Because you talked about the rotation and the young talent and assets that they have. Marquise Chris is a guy. He's a young guy. Here's my thing. You got to play all of the young guys. Marquise Chris is going to be up and down because he's young. But you know what? You got to play him. I think you got to start him. You got to move on from Tyson Chandler. I think he's hampering the progression of obviously the other bigs that they have, Alex Len, Jargon Bender. Obviously, both of those guys have had their injury concerns as well. So, it's not all on just having Tyson Chandler. But they got to develop those guys, and they got to give them playing time and consistent playing time, right? Look at what Minnesota did a couple years ago when they had Zach LaVine, Karl Anthony Towns, and Andrew Wiggins. They played them, and they had 3 guys under the age of 21 averaging 20 points a game. 3 guys, right? That's how you get guys developing. And now look at Zach LaVine playing in Chicago. It looks like he didn't lose a step, and he's balling, right? But they had a direction, and then they traded and got somebody better. With Phoenix, they got to go the route of the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think that we have to figure out how good, what's the rookie?
Josh Jackson.
Josh Jackson. We got to figure out how good he is, right? And then he may have to go or he may stay. But like you said, Ken, I agree. Devin Booker is the guy that you build around. But I think that they've already made a couple of mistakes. First and foremost with Elfrid Payton, man. They missed out with drafting Dennis Smith. I think that in this NBA, you have to have a dynamic backcourt. And Elfrid Payton is just not dynamic. Dennis Smith is dynamic. I think that they could get a point guard this year that would be dynamic like Trae Young. So then why did you get Elfrid Payton? So you know what I'm saying? I just don't understand where they want to go. Because if you're going to try to add veterans now and build it just solely around Devin Booker, you're not going to be successful. That's not a recipe for success. You got to get young guys that can develop with Devin Booker, and then you can make a move for the veterans. But they're not there yet, and I think they're trying to expedite the process, and that's what happens typically with bad teams. Then you get stuck in purgatory, where you make the playoffs, but you're not a championship contender at all. You have to acquire assets, and you have to give them playing time so that way they can develop, man. And in Phoenix, they're just backwards to me, man. And they're not heading in the right. Like, can any one of you guys tell me what direction they're heading in? Because I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I think they're unintentionally heading to the bottom. Like, I think they're a team that's trying to be better than they are. And sacrificing some of their youth and stunting the development of the youth. But FIFA, one thing I wanted to quickly say is with Elfrid Payton though, like my thing is I really like that move for Phoenix because I don't really see a point guard that they have that they should play over Payton. So why not take a guy who was a lottery pick for give up only a second round pick for a guy who was a lottery pick will be a restricted free agent who you could let walk. Why not take a flyer on him and see, if he can be something? I agree with you. I don't think he's a starting guard in today's NBA, but, he might be a nice player that you get, and now you have control because now he's under your control as a restricted free agent. So I don't see why there would be any problem with taking a guy like Payton.
Well, because, so Payton is the asset. If you let him walk, what do you get in return? You get nothing. And you're not in a position to be playing the salary cap game because who are you really trying to sign as a free agent or who's really looking at you to sign as a free agent? So that move, that's the reason why I don't really like the move. Mainly because in the next couple drafts, there are starting point guards. And to me, I'd rather build through the draft. You take a flyer, that's cool, but you take a flyer when you feel that the team needs something else, right? And what does Elfrid Payton bring different than everybody else, the other point guards that are on the squad? Maybe a little bit better defensive tenacity, but that's about it. He's not a better passer than the other point guards that they have. He's not a better scorer than the other point guards that they have. I agree with you. He can compete for the starting guard on that squad, but is he leaps and bounds better? He's at the same level, if not lower.
No, I'm not saying that, but to me, if you give up a second round pick for a guy who's a lottery pick who clearly has some type of potential and is only 22 or something, like 23, so I would definitely take a guy that young because even if he ends up being like a bottom of the rotation player that you guys keep, like for a second round pick, that's about the best. That's about what you can get for a second round pick, like. And that's best case scenario. And if he doesn't work and you will let him walk, some team offers him too much money, whatever, that's fine. Maybe you could do a sign and trade to get something back. But at the end of the day, a second round pick is a very small consequence to pay. So I think you take him, because I'm not looking at it from the perspective of you got to make him the starting point guard of, and this is going to be your guy you commit to the future. No, if a better point guard comes in the draft, you take him and, worry about Elfrid Payton later. Like, this wasn't giving up a second round pick. You're not mortgaging a future for a guy. If you gave up a first, then there'd be a little bit more pressure to make him a guy. But giving up a second round pick, you're just kind of taking a flyer and hoping that, hey, if it sticks and he can become a rotation player, cool. A starter, great. But if we let him walk, that's fine.
I get where you're coming from. I definitely understand where you're coming from. I just have to disagree, mainly because look at the second round picks that had flourished in the NBA, right? Draymond comes to mind, Isaiah comes to mind. So right. a second round pick is not as valuable, obviously, as a first round pick, but there is value there. And I think that with a young team that already is loaded with point guard, right? And you're not upgrading. If you're not upgrading, then you shouldn't make a move. That right. I think that's my philosophy. Because he's not okay. He comes in and he may crack the rotation, or he may be, again, the starting point guard, whatever. He doesn't upgrade the squad. So why give up that asset at that position when I can draft something even in the second round that may fit, maybe not this year or next year, but may fit in the future with the direction that I'm going with the team. Right? Like, again, that's why this move to me lacks direction. It's not about Elfrid Payton, because, again, I think Elfrid Payton is definitely a defensive first NBA point guard, but is he more than that? And I think that even with a second round pick, I can pick something that is more valuable for my team. Right? If you look at all of the greatest coaches, football, basketball, Popovich, Belichick, these guys take no-name guys and make them into guys, right? Second-round picks sometimes are those guys, and I'd rather pick the guy I want versus taking a flyer because, again, what direction does that put my franchise in? Every move needs to be intentional, and that, like, a flyer is not intentional. So that's why I disagree with your logic.
Okay, I respect that.
Yeah, and
I understand that.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's not like they haven't drafted guys that can play. It's just, what are you going to do with them? So what's the direction? So they have talent, but what are you going to do with it? And that's been their problem. They haven't figured out what to do with it, and not having stability at the coach position and making that early change for nothing doesn't help. So anyway, okay, cool. So Platty, thanks for joining us, man. Everybody make sure you check out his podcast, Basketball and Hip Hop. Chris, go ahead and tell them the name of your podcast, bro.
Yeah, first off, thank you for having me. I always love chopping it up with you guys. But yeah, you can find my podcast. It's called Strictly Hip Hop. It's Strictly Hoop Talk. It's 2 podcasts in one feed. The titles pretty much explain it all. One's a hip hop, one's a NBA podcast. And I've had Ken on the podcast, both basketball and hip hop. And Beezy was on there one time. And FIFO, I haven't gotten you on there yet, but the door is always open, my man. So come on. All right, for sure. All right, man. We're gonna make it happen then. And then, yeah, it's just a show that that does all sorts of aspects of hip hop and basketball. Hip hop album reviews, discussion pieces, like you guys do well. I loved your guys' discussion, or your anticipated albums video. I just watched that this morning, actually. So it's kind of like all aspects of both basketball and hip hop. So check it out, and you can follow me on Twitter at RealChrisPlatty, ChrisPlatte. And there you'll definitely be able to find the links to my content and all that. So thank you guys. Thank you for having me out, man. I enjoy talking hoops with you guys because it's been a minute.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us this week. We'll catch you guys next time. We out. Peace.